Hello students and welcome to this video on asset realization. I am looking at the November, oh no, this is not November, this is July. The July paper, it says November, nobody knows why. But anyway, it's the July paper of 2016. This was the question on assets that had been disposed of, and as you can see, it's 20 marks. So if you can get this one right, you have about 20 marks in your pocket. So this is section D, question 1. The following selected information was extracted from B Practice. B Practice is the owner of Practice Traders, and he bought a vehicle for 240,000 Rand on 1 July 2014. On 1 August 2015, he purchased a second vehicle for 379,500 Rand cash. On 1 February, the vehicle brought in 2014 was sold for 150,000 Rand. So there we have a proceed. Previously, they have listed the cost prices. Then in number 4, it says it is the business policy to appreciate vehicles at 20% per annum on the cost price. In the required part, you need to set up ledger accounts with the following, and they say it should be balanced and properly closed off on 31st of March 2016. So you will find there in the required part that the year end is 31st March 2016. So that means the beginning of the year was 1 April 2015. So please don't let them catch you out with something as simple as a financial year. You look at the next day. So if this is 31st of March, the next day is 1st April, but you count 1 year back. So it will be 1 April 2015. There you should have done vehicles, accumulated depreciation, quite a bit of marks there. Of course, calculations are required there, and then also the realization account. Please don't get confused. A realization account is also a disposal account, right? And there should be no balance in that account. It should balance out perfectly, meaning the debit side and the credit side should be exactly equal. Right, so I've opened here for us a spreadsheet. So I first want us to look at the timeline. All right, so suppose now that this is our timeline, and then this part right there should then be our year end. So the year end listed here in the required part was 31st of March, and that was for 2016. So right about there, we should then have the beginning of the year. So there I'm just going to write, there should be 1 April 2015. Then with the previous financial year, let's say it about ended there. So here we will then have 1 April 2014. If we look at the dates, they tell you that the first vehicle was purchased on 1 August 2015, or 1 July 2014, I beg your pardon. So on 1 July 2014, the old vehicle was about purchased, let's say, right about there. So that should then be 1 July 2014. That was the old one. So that one I will just make yellow. Then the new one was purchased 1 August. So 1 August should be about there on your timeline. So I'm just going to say 1 August 2015. Right, and I'm just going to highlight that then in a different color so that we can know what vehicle it is that we are working with. So basically, there's the timeline, and you will find that this old, so that yellow vehicle was then sold. So we basically have an old vehicle, we have a new vehicle, and the old vehicle is then sold. So I'm going to start then with the calculations. What calculations do we need before we try any of the T accounts? You need the cost price, you need the depreciation, you need the accumulated depreciation. That will lead to the calculation of a carry value. You need the proceed if it was sold, and then also the profit or the loss should it be sold at a loss. So let's have one little aisle then for the old vehicle, which is then the yellow one. Just going to highlight it again. And then for the new vehicle, I think it's a vehicle, right? Yes, it's vehicles. There's the green, so we have the old and we have the new. So if I look at the cost price for the old vehicle, 240,000. Cost price for the new vehicle seems like 379,500. And please note that it was for cash, and it is then purchased during the current financial year, because that portion right there represents our current financial year. Right, then the depreciation, accumulated depreciation. Now we have to go and count, right? The old vehicle, we already had it in previous financial years, but it was sold um, on 1 February 2016. So 1 February should probably be then, let's just insert another column. So 1 August, let me just move it there so that you can see. And then 1 February 2016 should then be about there. So if we look at the old vehicle, we had it and we sold it then on 1 February. So I had it at the beginning of the year and I sold it on 1 February. So up to 1 February, let's use another color. Let's make it blue. That should be our depreciation, right? It was purchased on 1 July. So I'm going to highlight this part, let's say in gray. So the gray part will then be your accumulated depreciation, while the black portion will be the depreciation for the current period. So for the old one, the depreciation will then be calculated as follows. Let me just insert here again a column, so there I will show how I got to the values. So for the depreciation, we're going to base it on the cost price, so that's 240,000. I'm going to times it by 20%. Please note how no scrap values was given here. Had there been a scrap value, it's also known as a residual value. It must first be deducted. So there's 20%, and I need to times it by the number of months for depreciation. So that will now be 1 April to 1 February. So I'm going to say April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, and January. Please note how I do not count February, because that is the first day of that month. So that gives me 10 months. There, I'm then going to say 240,000 times 20% times 10 months, and that gives you depreciation of 40,000. I must also calculate my accumulated depreciation, also based on the cost price, also based on 20%, also no scrap value. So it's quite simple, nothing to deduct from the 240,000. So the accumulated depreciation will then be from 1 July 2014 until 1 April 2015. So that's going to be July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, and March. Please note again, I don't count April because it's the first day. That gives me 9 months. So there I'm going to calculate the accumulated. And that gives me an answer of 36,000. What is the carry value then of this old one? I'm going to take the cost minus the depreciation minus the previous accumulated depreciation. It gives me 164,000. Then the proceed, it was sold for 150. So there's the proceed. And now I need to go and determine whether it's a profit or a loss. So this old vehicle was worth 164,000. They only gave me 150. So I had made a loss on this disposal. So here I'm just going to delete and then show it's a loss. And what would the loss be? It's that carry value minus the 150. So I've lost 14,000 Rand in this transaction. I also got a new vehicle. What is important then to remember about a new vehicle? The important thing is that it cannot have accumulated depreciation. If the vehicle was purchased in the current year, there is no accumulated depreciation. So this vehicle, if I can just now erase this, no fill, then you will see this vehicle was purchased on 1 August, so it is within the current financial year. So we got it on 1 August, and just want to delete everything now so that we can focus on the new one. So we got it on 1 August, and where will we then calculate depreciation for it? Because we got it in the current year, depreciation is we are only writing off depreciation from the day we got it up till the last day of the financial year. So we are calculating depreciation from 1 August to 31st of March, which is then that area again in the red. So what's the calculation to be done there? I'm going to say the cost price was 379,500. There is no residuals. I times by 20% given. And now I need to go and count the months. So I got it on August. It's the 31st of March is the last day of the financial year. So I'm counting August, September, October, November, December, January, February, and March. Please note how I now include March because it's the 31st and not the first day. So that's now 8 out of 12. If I type in that calculation, 379,500 times 20 times 8 months, that gives me 50,600. So there I have now done all my calculations, and I'm just going to put them in a proper block for you. And from this point forward, I can now start to do my T accounts. The T accounts that are required is your vehicles at cost, your accumulated depreciation account, and the vehicle realization account. So let's start with the vehicles and the cost of the vehicles that should now be shown there. So here I'm just going to draw my T account, and then I'm just going to copy and paste so that I have 3 of them. Paste, copy and paste. Right, the required was then your vehicle account. There I'm just going to center. Then we need a accumulated depreciation, and we also need an asset realization account. Right. Right, let's begin. If I look at my vehicle account, I would have had a balance at the beginning of the year, and that would have been only the cost price of the old vehicle, because that's the only vehicle I had at the beginning of the year. If I look at my timeline, the new vehicle was only obtained in August. So at this point here on 1st April, I only had one vehicle, and that was the vehicle with a cost of 240,000. If I look at the old vehicle, it had a cost of 240 and I sold it, so that 240 is then taken out of that vehicle account, and the description to be used there is then the vehicle realization account. Right, then I can also record the cost of the new one, but that will cause an increase in this account because I have actually now purchased this vehicle, so it's going to be added there. And you will see in the question they tell you that it was in number 2, they tell you it was purchased for cash. So the contra account there will be bank, and the amount will be 379,500. I need to balance this account. So there, I'm just going to use a proper technique. The balance to be brought over here will be 379,500, and you will find that they will both balance then on a total of 619,500. Right, that's the vehicles account. If you are able to do this, you get a full 4 marks. Just make sure that you also bring the balance in when it is brought down, and it will be, of course, exactly the same as the balance brought over. So there's the vehicle account, 4 marks right there, and I think that's pretty simple. We have decreased the vehicle account because it's an asset, so we deleted the asset that was sold. We had to move it to the realization account, and then we added the vehicle that was purchased. For the purpose of this vehicle realization, in the asset realization account or the vehicle realization account, I'm going to say there's the 240, and my contra account will then be the vehicles account. Right, so you will find that that will be the credit and the debit will lie there in asset realization. Right, moving toward accumulated depreciation, the balance at the beginning of the year. Uh, Please remember, accumulated depreciation, it will increase on the credit side, decrease on the debit side, works like a liability. The balance will be only the vehicle's accumulated depreciation that we had at the beginning of the year. So the only accumulated depreciation we had was the 36,000 of the old vehicle. So I'm just going to type it there. Then we had depreciation to write off, and we had some depreciation to delete from this account because the asset was disposed of. So the first depreciation entry that I will make is the depreciation that I have calculated for the old vehicle, and that was a total of 40,000. I've also calculated depreciation for the new vehicle, and that was a total of 50,600. On my debit side, I need to take out some of this accumulated depreciation because I have now disposed of this asset, and I cannot carry accumulated depreciation for an asset that I don't have. So I'm going to say asset realization on the debit side, and now I need to take out all the depreciation for this asset. So the asset that was then disposed of had accumulated at the beginning of the year of 36, plus we've just added another 40. So this is easy to get wrong. Please remember, you need to take the accumulated depreciation of the asset sold plus the depreciation for the current period to delete everything from this account. So I'm going to say 36,000 there plus the new 40,000, and that is going to leave me with 76,000 Rand of accumulated depreciation now deleted from this account because I put it on the debit side where the account becomes lesser. I need to balance this account, so I'm just going to take the sum of everything on this credit side, and then I need to make it balance, so I'm going to need a balance that is brought over. That will be the difference between those two, and I am going to need a balance that is brought down, and that will be then the exact same value as the balance brought over, 50,600. In the asset realization account, we have to make the credit entry. So there lies a debit entry. Here we will put a credit entry for the accumulated depreciation. All right. So what else do we put into the accumulate or into the asset realization account except for the accumulated depreciation? We also need to indicate then the rest of my calculation. So I need to record that one, the depreciation, the accumulated depreciation, the proceed, and the loss. So the proceed will go on which side? It doesn't matter how the vehicle is sold. The proceed will always go on the credit side of asset realization. So it was sold for cash, was it not? It was, so I'm going to say bank, and it was sold for 150,000. Then I've made a loss. I need to record the loss as well. It's 14,000. So if it's a profit, the asset realization will increase on the debit side. If it is a loss, the asset realization will decrease on the credit side. So for this purpose, this was a loss on sale. Therefore, it will make this account lesser, and the total there was 14,000. All right, I need to now balance this out. There should be no balances brought over or brought down in this account. So I just want to then make sure that everything is equal on both sides, and there you will find it perfectly balances on 240,000. All right, so if you were able to do this, you got a full 20 marks. Quite simple, I think. Easy to understand. This was the asset realization account question for the 2016 paper. I think it was quite a reasonable question. I hope that you have enjoyed this video and that it has helped you to create a bit more understanding on this topic. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in class.